I'm seriously not joking when I say this is the hardest and weirdest video to make. I don't even know.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah. Okay, so big announcement, and I won't bury the lead deeper into this video. So if you don't want to hear all the backstory, then I'll just say it. I've decided recently to resign from my position on staff as Director of Evangelization and Catechesis at St. Francis of Assisi. And so I would like to kind of share a little bit about what's next for us and what we hope to be doing. Not the full story. I mean, there's a lot more involving a Russian accented priest and, just lots about the discernment and the whole journey of all of this. But just wanted to share with you guys a little bit about what's been going on. So where do we start? So back in college, I knew that I wanted to live my life as a missionary disciple. I wanted to be involved in evangelization, and meeting Danielle and us really deciding that our family wanted to commit our lives to being a family about, this missionary call to be in the world and trying to reach people for Jesus, and being a family that serves others and invites others into that, and really felt called to parish ministry in particular. And I think we both really believe in the power of the local parish to transform the world, and the power of the parish for evangelization. Yeah, I think if you know me, and you've known me at all over the last couple of years, the last 10 years that I've worked in parish ministry, I feel like I'm the most committed to parish ministry of anyone I've met. I mean, and I don't really say that lightly. I just mean that my singular focus has been praying for God to send us to a place that we could call home for the long term, and really pour into that community and be a part of a culture shift, and not just the power of any one person or personality, but just to be to be faithful and dedicated to a community and building up a culture of evangelization in that community for a really long time. So I did not take this discernment and this decision lightly. I mean, in fact, I think honestly, I've resisted it for a few years now. And I think for various reasons that I don't want to get into, I feel like the Lord is calling me out of my staff role and into more of a parishioner role in our family, just not leaving the community and not leaving the parish, but being part of the parish as parishioners, and still being part of the city and being part of the community. We've really come to consider St. Francis of Assisi home and Grapevine home, and we have so many wonderful connections and community here. But really, for various reasons, just have been feeling like my effectiveness as a missionary disciple, my effectiveness. What?
There you go, effectiveness.
Yeah, what did I say the first time?
I don't know, not that.
My effectiveness in that call to be a missionary disciple, I give 110% to anything I'm doing. And I have felt like, for me, it was very difficult to give 110% with the situation I was in. And for various reasons, just discerned that I could be way more effective as a missionary disciple right now, just for right now, for the time being, and discerning with God where this leads, if I were to step back and be a parishioner. Now, the other thing is, I also realized that I had a lot of pride and just had wrapped up a lot of my identity in that passion for parish ministry, and my identity as a staff member. And I think realizing that, over the last 2-ish years, maybe 1 year, getting into the studio, realizing that I was kind of pouring that extra energy and passion into the studio, hoping that would satisfy this kind of uneasiness and dissatisfaction with not really being able to go 110%. And I thought that pouring some of that into the studio or other projects would satisfy that. And yeah, just through prayer and lots of discernment and conversations with others, realizing that maybe God was calling me out of being on staff, which didn't have to mean that I am giving up on the parish, but just that my support of it and my belief in it might look different. I remember at one point, my good friend and coworker Laura challenged me at one point because I was so committed to parish ministry. At one point, she said, "Well, if God was calling you out of parish ministry, like you'd listen, right?" And at that point, to be honest, I told her, "Man, honestly, I don't know that I would listen. Like, I think I've wrapped up unhealthily my pride and identity in parish ministry as a staff member." And we had been having some conversations about how, like, we had gotten married to be a family of, like, to be a very missionary family. And you challenged me at one point. You were like, "You're unhappy, you're emotionally unhappy, and we're not even doing ministry as a family, like what we signed up for, what we felt called to do."
Yeah.
And I knew that part of that was because of my kind of restlessness and this unhappiness with where I was at.
Yeah.
And I think God had to really break me down, especially during COVID. I mean, everyone's experiencing this kind of pause and this time to breathe and discern, what are we doing? And I realized that, that God was really calling me to something different. There's a lot of other long stories, but what I really want to get across, because one of the biggest insecurities about this whole thing, to be completely honest and transparent, was the number of people that would say, as the studio was getting better or all these other projects I do on the side, the number of people that tell me, like, "Oh, so you're going to quit parish ministry and go do this." And honestly, that was part of what made me even more, like, committed to never quitting. So I'm like, no, I'm going to prove you wrong. No, I do this in my spare time. I do not do this during work hours. I sacrifice a lot, and we sacrifice a lot to pursue these other things on the side. So that's one thing I definitely want to get across, is that was never the plan. It was never the plan to do studio stuff to quit, and it's been a big hit to my pride to have to even make a video like this saying I am quitting. And then I guess I'd just say, like, the other thing that really started stirring in my heart and I started feeling called to is honestly outreach to the city in a very different way, and thinking about the way the studio's kind of grown. And I haven't even been able to share enough of all the things that have been happening at the studio, or conversations with other people, or community that's been built up. But this call to upgrade the studio to a bigger building and have more of an impact on the city and be able to do more as a mission-driven space, this, like, creative space. So that also was stirring on my heart, and just through a lot of prayer, realizing that if ever I was going to try that and just be a parishioner and support the city and support the parish, now seemed like a time that God was calling me to try to do that. Oh, I also realized that for me, I couldn't just, a lot of people have been saying, well, just work your day job at church, and then in your spare time, build up enough of a business or whatever that you feel comfortable launching. And I understand a lot of people are concerned about us financially and what the plan is. And people have asked, well, what's your plan? And I felt convicted enough and strongly enough that to be completely honest, we don't really have a plan. Like, there's enough client work that I'm going to try to drum up, and there's enough ideas we have that we're going to try, but there was no plan. Like, there was no opportunity that came. There's no job opportunity. There was no big opportunity that was like, hey, choose between parish ministry and this.
Yeah, well, and actually the priest that married us, just this past weekend, his homily that was live streamed was about his journey and following God's call. And he would say, at every step of the way, you just discern that God wants you to do this, but he never gives you a plan. Mm. And, like, all he wants you to do is jump, like, make the next step and then wait.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's what we're doing. Like, okay, this is what we feel called to do. Like, this is the next step, and we're going to take it. And then, wait. Yeah. Wait for what's next for us.
Yeah, and I wanted to make this video just to share it as quickly as possible. We didn't do much prep for this. Like, I would love to do a more in-depth kind of, edited version of this story and this journey. But I just wanted to put something out because I have a lot of friends I care about. I have a lot of people I've texted and called and sought help and counsel, and I just wanted to put something out saying, like, thank you for supporting me and, telling you what's going on in our lives, and also answering the question, like, so what now?
Right.
And so just to say, as of now, the plan is to just kind of live as a family and do ministry, and just do client work. I have some different social media and kind of ministry related client work that I'm really passionate about doing. But the longer term plan is to pursue this idea of this mission driven space, this really interesting blend between business and ministry, and creating a community gathering space. Highly recommend the recent episode we did with Andrew Whaley on the show, talking about mission-driven coffee shops and just these interesting models of reaching out to a community. I'm feeling really called to that. And yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people have supported us getting into this studio, and that was under a Patreon that was patreon.com/the show, and it was kind of supporting the show. But I think things are shifting now, and we've decided to shift that Patreon to just support the studio and just support the events we put on at the studio, to support this mission of exploring mission-driven spaces and what we might do, this kind of outside the parish ministry to a city. Yeah. And this combination, everything we've been doing has always been really organic. Like, I try to make plans and I try to come up with strategies and stuff, but it's always just been following what we felt like the Lord was doing, and people coming over and sharing community, and then collaborating with other people and bringing people together and doing creative things, and doing podcasts and doing shows and helping people with client work, and all of that stuff has just been organic. So, I mean, if we're making an ask, right now things are crazy, but also we want to start bringing more people on board to support on Patreon this idea of like sharing our journey over the next however many months of exploring and discerning that direction of building a space and building a bigger space to do this type of mission-driven outward ministry. Yeah. So if you have been following along, I mean, thank you. And I know a lot of people who know me are like, but you of all people, I would not expect to quit ministry, because like you always talk about believing in the parish more than any other organization or institution or thing to bring about revival and renewal in the church is the parish. Well, yeah, for me right now that looks like us being parishioners at a parish, and it looks like us being volunteers and being a part of the community and not necessarily on staff. And that's been a huge humble pie to eat. But if I'm really honest, like over the last 2 years, I think I've felt that kind of dissatisfaction and that kind of like I'm not being fully effective in what I feel like God's calling me to do. It's been really, I mean, besides transferring out of Georgia Tech and into Franciscan University to pursue this, ministry type field, work, this has been the second most difficult and gut-wrenching, heart-wrenching decision of my life. And and I think we should do a podcast episode where maybe me and you just just hash it all out, but and tell all the different stories. But yeah, it's been very, very difficult. So just know that, I mean, I'm not taking this lightly, and yeah, I mean, this wasn't a part of my plan. But I am really excited for the future. I mean, we're going to try to document more of this journey, do these different creative businesses and client work, but also I have an idea for a mini series that I want to do in Dallas-Fort Worth, documenting different mission-driven creative spaces that are all throughout DFW. I mean, there's so many, Life in Deep Ellum, the Wax Space, the Sunshine place in Grapevine that's new. All these different spaces. I would love to create a series kind of documenting and exploring and showcasing these mission-driven, interesting spaces and these hyper-local, spaces. So that kind of stuff, putting out more podcast content, putting out other shows, collaborating with other creatives and artists. There's some other announcements of different things we're going to come out with at the studio. So thank you so much. And it's scary. I mean, we just had a finance meeting last night, and it was like, how is this going to work? So I don't want to put too fine a point on it, but if you have been following along for this journey and have been considering supporting us on Patreon, that would mean the world to us. And I think it's been awesome to see how this mission for a show has kind of morphed into now a bigger community and direction of a building. And I'm excited to see how that continues to grow and move forward. So I just want to say thank you to our family here in Grapevine and St. Francis of Assisi. And I mean, we're going to see you guys at Sunday Mass now, and I mean, we always would see you at Mass, but we're going to see you more just now as parishioners.
Yeah.
And we're not leaving. We're not going anywhere. But we're just excited to explore what God has in store for us next. What else do I say? I'm sorry. I always feel like, anytime I've told anyone this, I've always apologized. I'm just been like, I'm really sorry. They're like, why are you apologizing? I'm like, I don't know. I feel bad. How do you end a video like this? I don't know how to end a video like this. I don't even know if this is all my thoughts. I'm still recovering from.
Are you videotaping this?
Yeah. What do you mean? It's been recording the whole time. What do you mean?
You're telling them I don't know how to end a video like this?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Huh.
I don't really know how to end a video like this, and I've had to really push myself to just hit record and just say whatever comes out, because I'm still, to be honest, pretty raw and kind of recovering from a lot of this process and different things that have happened. And so, yeah, just thank you for watching. Thanks for supporting. We hope to continue to make awesome things and do God's work in God's city in the future.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
See you soon.